welcome to the $1 Million Idea. I'm Mini Menon. All of us have complained about it sometime or the other. The fact is that public transport in any city in India is pretty bad. But somebody out there has cashed in on this problem. Today on the show, we tell you the story of Meru Cabs and the man behind it, Neeraj Gupta. It's a tough message to live up to if you're in a business that is choked with thousands of players at your beck and call. But taxi service Meru managed to sneak in on an opportunity that was an instant hit because it made your cab trip comfortable, available and not so expensive. A far cry from rickety old taxis you were stuck with in case you had to use one. Today thousands of urbanites from Mumbai to Hyderabad swear by their Meru cabs. That's why Meru is such a $1 million idea. An idea that cashed in on the simple need of people for a safe, comfortable, air-conditioned and cheap travel door-to-door. A taxi service that really offers services. Taking cues from the well-organized systems operational in cities like New York and Singapore, Meru packs in well-trained drivers in clean cars and a GPRS system that can take you exactly where you want to go. The prices are just marginally higher than regular cabs and it's safe because you can actually trace the car and driver you used last week in case you left something behind. What's more, the real potential for the company is the fact that numbers show that people really don't mind paying a little bit more for a comfortable ride. The telephone is always ringing at the Meru call center and the company has a serious challenge servicing all callers. For Meru, the big breakthrough came in 2006 when the Maharashtra government opened up tenders for a private fleet of luxury taxis, and since then the company has moved into Hyderabad, Bangalore and even Delhi. For Neeraj Gupta, the man behind Meru, the last 2 years have been heady, but so have the last 10 as he moved up from being a garage owner to heading a multi-million-dollar company. And as he says, he started off with nothing, just a little bit of ambition. What a story, Neeraj. Thanks so much for joining us on the show. We are in your cab, actually. Tell us, did you ever think things would go the way they have?
Until last year, no. But from last year when we joined hands with India Value Fund, we knew what direction we were taking.
That's
and what
a PE fund.
That's a PE fund.
The more professional, organized kind
yes.
of thing. But let's start at the beginning. You were literally pushed out of the house to go and get some work done, right?
I wanted to do something or the other, but didn't have any capital to do firstly. Wanted to do something big always. Didn't want to start anything which would be small or which would not give me scale. So kept on trying different things, but without any capital and without any kind of backing, it became a bit difficult. But then I was forced that now you must start with something. Let it
Your
be
wife
small.
said you have to go out and do something.
Even if it's small in nature, you must think. So I think of starting it. So I think garage was one of the smallest things one could think of. So
and why garage? Did you know anything about cars?
Nothing at all.
Fond of cars?
Nothing at all. In fact, my friend that time, he was kind of a mechanic working for a garage, an acquaintance for that matter. He said, I told that let's start a garage on a partnership and we'll take it to a different level where we'll try and get some we'll get some corporate business and we'll do it in a different manner where we'll get some AMCs. So that's how we joined hands and
AMCs meaning?
Annual maintenance contracts for the individuals and the companies where we would give them free servicing and probably maintenance, and if there's a breakdown, so we will just come.
But
so
did it work? It's such a localized kind of market, isn't it?
It worked pretty well, in fact. We did a gala opening for the garage, invited all our friends, and then had took it in a structured manner. We had forms printed, so every guy had to enroll with us, gave him a membership.
Where did you get the idea of forms?
Citibank credit card was that time for having forms, so I thought even we should have form. So I had a fantastic form made it look very structured, made it look very organized. And people bought the idea and we were servicing them. So we had around 70-80 individuals who had registered with us for the annual maintenance contract.
Right. And that's where your partnership also broke, because the turning point, if I'm not mistaken, came when you got the first Tata Infotech contract to run a bus to take their staff from their offices. Your partner wasn't convinced about that.
Yes, in fact, when I got this opportunity to take a contract with Tata Infotech, I asked my partner whether he would be interested. But there was a bit of risk involved in that. It was a 5-year contract where the contract could be terminated and the bus was costing around 14 lakh rupees. So some capital of around 4-5 lakhs needed to be invested from our side. A loan would have to be taken, so there was a debt involved. So he was a bit reluctant, I guess, to get into those kind, and the garage was doing pretty well.
But what made you go for it? Because you thought there was a...
I thought it's a chance to move on in life. A garage was something which, okay, that was happening, but that had to be the second level transition, where I was getting into corporate business, a more organized sector, and transportation was a larger business, I thought. So I thought it's an interesting field to
You
get
had
into.
one bus and you called your company Traveling.
Traveling.
With
right.
one bus.
One bus, right.
So how did you scale up over there?
Well, the contract was signed in the year 2000. For first 2 years, I didn't have much to do. I had one bus, one driver, one cleaner who were running it for me. 2002, the Tata Infotech started off with Cycle. That's where
The BPO business.
where that was among the first BPOs to be set up in India, where employee transportation in the night time was to provide it. They said, would I be interested? I said, yeah, I must take up this opportunity. So that's where we moved on in life, where I had to buy one more bus, and the BPO business, it was a boom, as everyone is aware that it started growing rapidly that time. So from those two buses, we had around 40-50 vehicles running in Tata Infotech in the next 2-3 months. And sooner, more clients approached me for starting up transportation there also. And it just started rolling from there on.
Right. And then, of course, in between 2002 and 2006, this business really grew, didn't it? I mean, with the BPO business. But then at that end point, it didn't seem a lucrative business. Why was that?
Well, it was still a very interesting business, but as time goes on, more people start entering into the business. So there was competition coming in from unorganized players. Client expectations were growing. They wanted more cost-effective measures. They wanted more control on the business. So the business was becoming a bit shaky, where scaling up in those circumstances were becoming difficult. That's where I thought I need to diversify in a related field, where probably I could service the clients with a much better solution.
And then Meru happened.
And then Meru happened.
Because the Maharashtra government put out tenders for a private fleet. But were you convinced about this whole concept? Because, you know, in Mumbai, for instance, you have the yellow and black cabs, which have been there since time immemorial. You also have a whole host of local taxi services. Why did you think Meru would work?
Well, in fact, that was an opportunity for us, because all these 45-50 odd thousand black and yellow cabs, as everyone would be aware, were in complete shambles. They were not of good quality. And then even there was a huge car rental market of around 20-25,000 vehicles that was surviving. So, and the time had come where people were ready to pay a bit of an extra premium for a better service. So I thought there was an opportunity there, but was clearly not very sure whether it would take off the way we would expect it to. So, but as I said, we had a fallback arrangement of the call center business with us for that.
Yeah. So in the beginning, you were hoping that Meru would be more call center, more retail. How was it being done?
Honestly, if I have to say, I thought it wouldn't do so well initially. It would take time to build up. So I thought it would be more call center and less of retail, where daytime you do retail business, whatever you would get, and nighttime you done in the call center.
And test the market in the morning.
Yes, yes. But things were completely different.
And now you don't do any BPO work?
We do BPO, the same model. We are operating with outsourced vehicles. We are not touched our Merus in the call center market at all, because we are unable to cater to the retail demand. So we have to scale up first to get into the corporate business also.
And now, of course, Meru runs 2,200 cabs across multiple cities, and there are lots of challenges in scaling up that business. We'll come back and talk about Neeraj's journey and Meru's journey into what it is today. Stay right there. Welcome back. You're watching The $1 Million Idea, and I'm here at the Meru Cab depot with the man behind it, Neeraj Gupta. Neeraj, it's not an easy business to be in. It might look easy every time you pick up the phone and call a Meru Cab, but you have a huge amount of back end to do and front end to do. So let's start off with the front end. On the ground, there would have been a lot of resistance, right, to get Merus off the ground?
Yeah. When we launched in March 2007, the first challenge we had was to procure the permits, which the government had directed that we need to get the permit from the existing taxi holders. So that was a big challenge we faced. So how do we get hold of the permits? So we had to do a bit of marketing. We overcome that. Next big challenge, I think, is getting good quality drivers in the business. So there are.
So did you incorporate existing drivers on the ground, or did you go and train new drivers?
Well, the drivers had to have a badge. So that was one requisite that the government had laid down, that they need to have a badge. There were badge holders who were available, but the quality that we wanted out of these guys was not always up to the mark. So we decided we'll set up a separate academy to train these guys.
You were telling me earlier in our conversation that you've also worked on a format where the drivers become entrepreneurs.
Right.
They give you a certain amount of money and then they work it out themselves. Has that model worked?
Yes, in fact, that is the model that works internationally. Here we are calling them as DSCs, that is driver, subscriber and the entrepreneur. So all the three things are actually molded into one, where he is a driver, but he also has to be an entrepreneur, where he gives us a fixed lump sum on a daily basis. He needs to work towards generating the income, take all the bookings from the call centers, accept curbside bookings, and the upside is kept with him. So that's the model.
Does that cap your upside?
Not really, but that is the only way we can scale the business. Having 5,000, 10,000 drivers on your rolls will not work actually, because then there would be other issues attached to that. So the only way the model can be scaled is through this model. And secondly, we have a track of what the driver earning up. Through the technology, we are able to track all the details. So as the driver earnings go up, we can also increase our subscription amount.
You know, tell me another thing. You've got private equity partners in this venture. Does that help in today's world? Is that making business a little more easier?
Very much. In fact, when we tied up with India Valley Fund, I didn't realize the kind of advantages and the benefits that we would get along with that. First is it opened a whole new world of professionalism to me. I was running a business which was completely driven by me. We got in professionals to run the business. We got it Accenture to write a software, to write the processes for us. We got the best technology from around the world. So a lot of professional help is available, and of course the capital also, which is an important part to build this kind of business. So all these things put together do
So
help.
how much money have they pumped in, and how much more do you need to scale it up?
Well, the plan to have around 10 to 15,000 taxis in 5 years is what we have put together. In total investment, around 500 to 600 crores is what we are looking at. And probably by way of equity, around 150 crores is what we should be.
But don't you mind the fact that it was your idea and they are going to be controlling the purse strings, or perhaps even dictating some important strategic plans?
Not really. In fact, see, it is about the way you want to look at things. Individually, how much can you grow the business? I don't think so you can go a long way if you want to run a business individually on your own. You would need professional help, you would need a capital to come into the business, and everything would come at a cost. So, and finally, yes, they bring in a lot of expertise which is required to build a level business of this size. So it is not a compromise. In fact, it has only helped us in scaling the business the way we want to.
But it is also a fact that you think of scale as being a very important ingredient. I mean, whatever business that you've done, you were telling me this earlier, that you've always said the scale is the best answer. So why do you believe that?
Well, certain businesses do require, any business in fact, if you go see, how much, if you want to grow, it is all about scaling. If you don't scale, how do you grow business? And especially the nature of business that we are into, the scaling is the only way out, because if you don't have scale, we cannot meet the demands, we cannot provide taxis to the individuals and the customers on time and without delays. We will not be able to completely deliver the taxi service aspect of it. A taxi service is basically available on call whenever you want within probably 10 to 15 minutes. So in a city of Bombay, if you don't have say 5 to 10,000 taxis, how do you service the demand?
And it's not a Mumbai alone story. You know, a lot of people around the time when the international airports in Bangalore and Hyderabad were coming up, everybody complained, oh, it's so far away, it's so far away. But you've actually cashed in on the fact that it's so far away, right?
Right. In fact, that turned to be a blessing for us to start off in other cities. We are contemplating how do we and when do we get into the other cities. The new international airports were coming up. They approached us that we would want to start a similar service in Hyderabad and Bangalore also. So we got through the contract, there was a tendering process involved.
In fact, let's look at the rest of the marketplace, because the taxi business is a complicated one, because there are big players, there are small players, and there are very, very localized players. Here's a look at how some of them are doing unique new models.
It's a crowded market, and take a walk to your nearest road in a city like Mumbai and you'll see the regular black and yellow cabs, local taxi services, cool cabs and the big boys of car rentals like Hertz. There's clearly something for everyone. Here's how the cab business stacks up. In Mumbai alone, there are at least 55,000 black and yellow cabs. While they have been a constant fixture in the city since you can remember, many of them are worn out and ready to face the axe because of government regulation. The corporate taxi service is controlled by the big boys in the business. Players like Hertz prefer to align with companies rather than individuals, and they seem happy in the niche market. Then there are thousands of neighborhood 5 to 6 car services that cater to a small catchment of clientele and come in handy in an emergency. But without scale and spread, these are limited local plays. And then of course there's some really niche players, like this service which provides drivers in response to the recent clampdown on drunk drivers on weekends in Mumbai. Started by a bunch of youngsters, this one's selling point is its name, Party Hard Drivers.
Me, Mashal, Ankur met at a pub and we were just discussing about our friend who just met with a near-death accident. So we thought that there should be something like this where, you know, you can go home safely. You know, you don't need to risk your life, you don't need to be caught by the cops.
But the fact is, with so many options and functional problems on the ground, for instance the fact that Meru had to shut shop for over a week to ward off political pressure to unionize its drivers, there is such a lot of scope for anyone in the business. After all, the roads are choked and you still have to wait to get a taxi most times.
You know, when you're betting on a business like this, Neeraj, you're clearly betting for the future, aren't you?
Right. Because when we made a business plan also, we were very clear that we need to have at least 15,000 taxis on the road in the next 5 years. So we have to have a very strong business plan in place and need to scale up, or else it's not going to sustain.
Right. But the moment you target retail directly, you have issues of branding, service quality. Does that put a lot of pressure on the system itself?
Well, all those things have to be well thought of and then actually consistently be delivered over time again. So we need to have strong processes in place, systems in place, and people to actually measure that continuously. Yes, it is a challenge, but we are doing it till now.
You actually got an agency to actually help you plan the color of the taxi, the name. How did it come across?
Well, we appointed Chlorophyll as a brand consultants. The small workshop which was conducted, and we asked several questions on what is our philosophy and why we want to do this business and what are the things that we want to build around this business. So the final brand core which emerged was uncompromising reliability is something which we all want to do. And Meru name basically is in Hindu mythology a mountain which was used for the churning of the oceans for Sagar Manthan. So it was supposed to be a very strong, sturdy, reliable mountain. So that's how the name Meru evolved. And the color, of course, we had 2-3 options with us. Green color is something we thought is eco-friendly. We wanted to build.
It wasn't because you like green or something?
No, not at all. Nothing like that, yeah.
I thought, oh, I like green, so all my taxis
No,
are
not
going
at all,
to
not
be
at all.
green. Right. But what also happens with scale is the fact that, you know, you have a 40-seater call center which actually handles other calls. A lot of people have complained that they can't get through to Meru Cabs. Do you have to reject a lot? Do you actually lose business because of that?
Yeah, in fact, that's been the case for us from day one. Today also we have executing around 2,000 odd bookings and rejecting also 2,000 odd bookings.
But does that leave a bad taste in people's mouths? And
It
does that help in the long
it
run?
does in a manner, but it is better than deploying fleet in a haste with some bad drivers and drivers who don't know the business, and we compromise on quality just because we want to scale up quickly.
When do you see the project breaking even, and what kind of monies are we talking about here?
Well, break even I think we should be reaching when we are around 4,000 odd vehicles we have on board.
You're halfway mark now.
We are halfway mark, that too we have achieved it in just over a year. So by the next financial year end we should be around 4,000 odd vehicles. That's the plan we have in mind. So that should take care of the break even part. And yes, 10,000 is the target we have for Bombay alone. All across the, India, that's probably 5 to 6 cities put together. 15,000 is what we want to reach. So that's the plan we have set for ourselves.
So where did you get the framework for your plans from? I mean, was it the time when you traveled with your wife when she was working with BA and actually got a sense of what taxi services are? I mean, how did the germ of the idea start?
Well, with your wife working for an airline, a lot of perquisites come free for you. So that helped me in traveling across the globe. We went across many cities and saw taxis and public infrastructure, public transportation actually to be really very advanced and well developed. So that was as clearly saw lacking in Mumbai and other cities also. So that thought was always there, and when the licensing scheme came out, I was very clear that we have to dive in for this.
Right. You know, everything revolves around your wife, right? You're starting out, your experience of world-class taxi, etc. We head for a short break now, but when we come back, we'll meet Neeraj's wife and find out what she makes of his success.
Watching the story of millionaire cabbie Neeraj Gupta and his very popular Meru taxi service. When you see the Guptas at home, you're amazed at how young the family is. For 35-year-old Neeraj, the last 10 years have been heady, and the one thing that has had him climb the ladder of success has been vision. He has thought big and out of the box, and despite the success of this venture, the plans remain big. Meru wants to spread out to other cities, double its fleet over the next year, and get into the broader public transport space and run buses one day. Interestingly, as the plans get bigger, Neeraj has also had to loosen his grip on the company he started from scratch. Private equity backing and professionals in charge of daily functioning mean that Neeraj needs to just oversee and plan, and he doesn't mind it at all. As he says, he'd rather have a smaller piece of a much larger cake, and the cake is getting big.
Farhat, throughout this conversation with Neeraj, the one person who was constant was you. How you pushed him to do work, how you, always was a sounding board for him. How has the journey been for you?
The journey with him has been beautiful. I've known him for a very long time now, and it's just that a very close bonding that we share.
That's a very serious answer, Farhat. Tell me the aside, how did it all start? I mean, when you got married, you were seeing each other in college. When you got married, you told him that you have to go out and do something now.
Yeah.
So
well, no, I didn't actually know.
that's the impression you gave me.
No, it's not that I never pushed him. I never pushed him. It was just that in college.
But there's always this question, what is it that you're going to do? Is there something that we must start, do something in life? So that was always there. So probably that made me move on to this garage business and start something.
What is interesting about your story also, Neeraj, is that you were an entrepreneur out of accident. It wasn't a well thought out plan or career path. And a lot of people would have, after the initial bit of success, taken a back seat and said, wow, that's enough, I've made it, I've made a killing. But you didn't quite think that way. What changed? When did you start becoming this, businessman with a vision?
I think I'm still too young to actually retire now. There's a long way to go in life. And see, it's about things moving on. Because the day you stop, I think growth is the only way you have to, you can actually sustain and do well. So you have to keep on growing, you have to keep on expanding. If you don't do that, you will succumb one day or the other. So that is one thing I always knew, that you have to keep on expanding, keep on growing. Yes, opportunities, I did try and identify which was the right industry to be in, or which is the right business to start off. And I think that I will always keep on doing, because 2-3 years, I think one must move on and look at new things.
In our conversations earlier, you mentioned a phrase. You said, anybody can repair a car, nobody could market a car. Is that pretty much the essence of what you are? I mean, the fact is everybody's done it, but you went out and marketed it and you thought big. Is that the secret of your success?
Yes, again, it is about repairing a car, as I said, marketing it, also repairing it the right way and showing it to them. It's always something like, you can do a good job, but you need to tell people, okay, I've done a good job. So unless and until you're not going to express it, how are you going to get the results of it? So you need to show out to the world, okay, this is what I'm doing, this is how efficiently I'm doing it. So it's not only about marketing, but also delivering the goods. So both the things have to go hand in hand.
Well, all the best to you. Let's see which route Meru takes in the future and which way it goes. Thank you so much for joining us, and wish you all the very best. And that's a wrap on the $1 Million Idea, but we'll be back next week with another idea which is worth $1 million. Stay tuned for that. Goodbye.